Well, it's yet another year and yet another loss to that team up north. I don't even know what to say, honestly. I was at this game. I went there, saved up a decent amount of money, went to that game with my dad. That's why this reaction's coming out the night after the game. I wanted to rest, wanted to marinate, gather my thoughts a bit. Didn't want to be too reactionary because it is just week one. But good God, just an all around failure, just across the board, that we have not seen from the Bears against the Packers or against any team in a hot minute. The closest one that comes to mind is the Browns game from a couple years ago, and just how bad the game plan and execution was, just across the board, just the whole team. Nobody showed up yesterday. Nobody. Bears lose to the Packers by a score of 38 to 21, something like that. No, it wasn't close. It wasn't close. And the worst part is, you look at how different these two teams are compared to where we were last year. We played the Packers pretty good the last year. Both of those games. We went up to Lambeau, kept it pretty close, got away from us at the end there. This past year at Soldier Field, blew that lead, but it was a close game. Felt like we were in it up until the very end, which we were. And, it felt like this year with Aaron Rodgers leaving, they didn't have their number one wide receiver, Christian Watson. And then the Bears, they added so many pieces on offense and defense. Brought in DJ Moore, brought in 2 new offensive linemen. Justin Fields is next year in that scheme. Brought in Robert Tonyan, brought in Tyler Scott. On defense, we brought in Yannick Ngakoue. We brought in Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Tyreek Stevenson. All four, somehow, we get blown out. How did you find a way to get blown out by that team? I cannot believe that they found a way to get blown out by that team. This is not an untalented roster, but they looked so horrible. Do you honestly think we're going to beat a single team looking the way that we did yesterday? Because I don't. Running the same over and over again, the same running back checkdowns and screens that just are not working because the blocking isn't there. There were so many issues today, but I think number one was the coaching. I'll start on offense. Luke Getsy, you have to call plays that are aggressive. When we were in the third quarter and we were losing, we took 0 deep shots, took 0 risks, played to field strengths, not at all. You have a quarterback whose biggest strength is throwing deep. You have wide receivers whose biggest strengths are catching deep. That's Darnell Mooney. That's Chase Claypool. That's DJ Moore. All 3 of those guys have shown that they can succeed in the NFL. Justin Fields can throw the ball deep downfield. He can sling the rock. Dude's got a cannon of an arm. We did not call a single play. We called 3 plays total that were over 10 yards deep. We did not call a single play over 20 yards deep. The one deep shot that we had was that Darnell Mooney touchdown. That was a Justin Fields audible. Getsy didn't even call that play. What was the point of bringing in DJ Moore if you're not even going to use him? It's like Allen Robinson all over again. You have these players that we know can be successful, and you're just not utilizing them to their strengths. Justin Fields kept throwing the same 5-yard curl routes, the same 5-yard running back checkdowns over and over and over again. And by the time the game was getting away from us, it felt like we were in the twilight zone. They just didn't change anything. They just kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to make a comeback somehow. And that's not going to work. That's not how this works in the NFL. That's not how any of this is going to work. I get that it's week one, but how are you going to look worse and even more lost than you did last year? How are you taking more risks last year with worse pieces and with a battered roster? It just doesn't make any sense to me. We put up more of a fight when it was Justin Fields and nobody else. Equanimeous St. Brown and N'Keal Harry were our number one wide receivers that game in December. And we looked better than a healthy team that had all offseason to prepare for this, that brought in a ton of new pieces. I have a hard time putting this on anybody but the coaches. Now, if you look at the defense, Alan Williams, man, I don't know what is going on with you, but you need to fix something. Something. He keeps running the same cover 2 scheme, the basic bland scheme that we saw in preseason. Hardly any blitzes, hardly anything. You have essentially a rookie quarterback you're going up against in Jordan Love. You didn't even you didn't even try to put the heat on him. That's what you have to do with these young players. And oh my God, our defense was just getting run all over all game. The run defense, it was a big problem last year, and it's still a big problem because we didn't add any pieces to that. Which I know that there weren't exactly any amazing pieces available, but it's still an issue. You can have these all-world linebackers, but you need defensive tackles. There are some good ones still out there. Ndamukong Suh, bring back Akeem Hicks. He's still a free agent. Because you cannot have a good defense doing this. We got down early, and then the Packers were just able to run the ball the rest of the game, and they got a ton of yardage off of that, and they were able to score even more. That's what this team was going to do. As soon as they got ahead, as soon as the Packers got ahead, they were just going to lean on the run game and chew up clock and take this to the end and just keep the ball. And we could not stop them. Our secondary gave up huge plays over and over and over again, but our defensive line could not put any pressure on Jordan Love. He sat there the whole time just throwing it wherever he wanted to, and our secondary wasn't putting up too much of a fight after the first half. I liked how they looked in the first half, but in the second half, they really let it get away from them. But I have a hard time blaming just the defense for this loss because we knew the defense was bad. Yes, we added in a ton of pieces, but I knew it was going to take time to grow. What I cannot excuse is the offense. I cannot excuse that whatsoever. Luke Getsy, you need to fix that because you know that you have a number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore, one of the most talented wide receivers. He put up 1,000 yards like 4 of the last 5 seasons or something like that. The fact that you didn't even, he got 3 targets all game long, 3 targets. And of course he hauled in that touchdown pass that wasn't a touchdown pass, but it was an amazing grab. And it's like, oh, right. We have an NFL caliber wide receiver. This was supposed to be our A.J. Brown. This was supposed to be our Stephon Diggs. This was supposed to be the guy that's going to elevate our quarterback. And you're not even letting him do it. Fields didn't look good. Like, not at all. Especially after the pressure really got to him because our O-line sucks. It is really bad still. You had Braxton Jones, who only gave up 1 pressure. Great job. The rest of them, dude, Lucas Patrick, you suck, man. He was getting bullied all game long. And next week, we got to go up against Vita Vea. What are we going to do in that situation? There's no way we're going to be able to stop them. Cody Whitehair looked god-awful. Nate Davis looked horrible. He gave up 9 pressures, I want to say. Now, he was like the worst O-lineman grade of the day, at least up until the Giants game. I think they had a worse one than us. Nate Davis, this is why you practice, dude. Where has he been? I don't even know how many times he's practiced. I don't even know. He keeps missing with personal time or whatever. I hope he has a really good excuse because it really showed. And this offensive line needs Tevin Jenkins. We didn't have him. We need him. We need him back because, good God, it was bad. Darnell Wright, he looked okay, but man, we need Tev back. We need him back soon because this was... God, and Justin Fields, as soon as he started to get rattled, he went back to his same old habits of overthinking the defense and doubting himself and not just throwing the ball, but second guessing, hesitating in the pocket, which led him to get sacked and pressured even more. But Getsy kept calling the same plays over and over again. Fields threw that pick 6 at the end, but that was garbage time. I don't really care too much about that, but I genuinely don't even know who he was throwing to. I was at the game. DJ Moore was wide open on that play. Wide open. And he threw to Quay Walker, who took it back for a touchdown because people got lazy and didn't even want to tackle him. And at that point, I was just laughing. I was just laughing. Because it looked like they just gave up. And they did. They did just give up. You had that Roschon touchdown at the end, which Roschon looked good, but it was garbage time. How do I even know if he's actually good? This team looked so lost and so horrible. And this was supposed to be the year where our offense takes that next step and our defense gets kind of better and we're competing for a playoff spot. If that's how we're gonna look all year, then dude, this rebuild is gonna absolutely fail because it's at the heart of it is Justin Fields, and if you cannot get him to be good, because it's just as much as on Justin as it is on your offensive coaching staff to get the most out of him, and it felt like they really weren't even putting him in a position to succeed. They weren't even letting him spread his wings. They were just they were just calling the same crow routes over and over and just making him look terrible. Oh yeah, just keep calling another running back screen, even though the Packers defense can smell it from a mile away, and Chase Claypool isn't even out there trying. Nobody's blocking. Nobody's making. Every play feels like the Packers are 2 steps ahead of us. And this is supposed to be the year. How did we look worse than we did last year? I can't even remember a single game where we looked this bad last year. Genuinely. Like, it felt like the Packers were a Super Bowl team and we were like the 0-16 Browns. Like, it that bad. I'm blaming the game plan, the players, like everything across the board looked horrible. I can't even name a single player that stood out, that had a good performance. Tyreek Stevenson early on looked pretty good. Yannick Ngakoue had a couple decent plays, and that is it. What are we supposed to do here? If I have to sit here next week and talk the same way about the Tampa Bay game, we are in trouble. Because if this year doesn't work out and we're somehow just as bad as we were last year, this whole thing is not gonna go well, because we're gonna have to ditch Justin. We're gonna have to use one of those high first round picks on a quarterback. We're gonna have to develop him all over again. But do you actually believe that this coaching staff is gonna be able to develop a quarterback on their own? Do you really think with Drake May or Caleb Williams behind there, with those play calls, that we're actually gonna be able to succeed? No. And at the heart of it is Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff. And you can blame Ryan Poles and his roster construction. But this is not a bad roster, I don't think. And I firmly believe that. There are enough talented players that we've seen thrive before. We've seen Justin Fields have some amazing games. DJ Moore has had 1,300 yards in like 3 different seasons. Tremaine Edmonds has made the Pro Bowl. TJ Edwards was on a Super Bowl winning defense. Jalen Johnson had a great campaign last year. Eddie Jackson's been an All-Pro. Chase Claypool looked really great when he was on the Steelers. Darnell Mooney had 1,000 yards a couple seasons ago. We've seen these players be good. The fact that everyone looked terrible yesterday, you can't tell me that all the players just got bad all at once. I know it's on the coaching staff. I know it is. I put them 100% to blame for yesterday. And it starts at the top. A couple years ago when they were doing the hiring process after they fired Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, they had 2 different searches going on. They were searching for the GM and they were searching for the head coach. Then they hired the GM and made him pick between their head coaching finalists. Do you see the problem there? That the GM doesn't even get to find his own coach that's going to fit their standard. You know who their finalists were, by the way? Matt Eberflus, Dan Quinn, Jim Caldwell. Meanwhile, Brian Daboll is winning Coach of the Year, and Mike McDaniel is probably about to coach the Dolphins to a Super Bowl. Maybe it would have been nice to reach out to them and actually take them seriously. But it's the same thing. Like, did Ryan Poles really want Eberflus as his head coach? Is this really the guy for this team? I was very whelmed by the Eberflus hire. It felt like a nothing hire, a culture guy hire, which I guess is what we needed after Nagy. But like, he just feels so passive. Like he's not gonna put up a problem or anything. Like he's actually gonna fight for this. Felt like a very safe hire. Luke Getsy, I was excited about, but man, can he not call plays yesterday? He looked so bad. Alan Williams, from day one, he's not given me a single reason to think he's going to be good. Name one single good game that the Bears defense has had in last season when Alan Williams was in charge. And you can blame not having talent, I get it, but even before we got rid of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. I genuinely can't even think of one good defensive performance. Just by and large, we need to. I know it's just week one. I'm willing to give them more time. I'm not going to go out here and say that, we need to get rid of Justin or that we need to put on the tank and get Caleb Williams. I'm willing to give them a few more weeks. But if we get to midseason or the bye week and we still look like this and we still don't know if Fields is the guy or not, then we need to pull the plug on this rebuild and we need to find a new coach before we dedicate all these draft assets and all these contracts and money and all that to pushing into this rebuild. That's not going to work out. Because it's not going to work out if this is the coaching staff that we're seeing is the one from yesterday. They need to turn it around. Our players need to turn it around. Some of these guys weren't even trying. Chase Claypool, what is going on, dude? What is going on? Looking like a bad trade for Ryan Poles. Like Chase Claypool, I mean, it's not his fault that they traded too much for him, but man, like you're not even trying out there. I've seen the videos. I was at the game. I saw him get blown up on a screen pass where he's supposed to block. He's supposed to be a good blocker. It was just embarrassing. And this was supposed to be the game where we take that next step and show the Packers what we're supposed to be. I genuinely believe we were going to win this game. And that's the worst Packers loss in, dude, I don't even know how long. I can't even remember the last time we came out looking that flat against them. And, people are saying it's not Fields' fault, which I largely it's not. Like, it's not Fields' fault. It's not. But I'm sick of saying that. Like, I'm sick of it not being his fault. I want him to be the reason that we win. I want him to win in spite of the bad play calls or do something. It feels like we're always saying it's not Fields' fault, but, I just want him to rise to the occasion and actually do something. We have a lot to figure out. I just feel embarrassed that, I spent all this money, went out there and wore my DJ Moore jersey, went to that game, and that's what they put out for us. That's what we're gonna do this year. And the worst part is, after it wasn't working, they never changed anything. I don't know. But not looking good for this year. Not very optimistic anymore. I thought we were going 10-7. I thought we would make the playoffs. But if that game's anything to go off of, we either have a lot more work to do or we are screwed just in general. I just can't believe we brought in DJ Moore and didn't even use him. We heard all camp about how great Justin and DJ were looking, how great Darnell was looking, how great Chase Claypool was looking. Darnell Mooney had 3 targets. DJ Moore had 4. Chase Claypool had 0. I think Kmet had 5. I think Herbert and Roschon were our leading pass catchers, running backs. And there's a reason we only put up 6 in the first half. So, yeah, Bears, do better because I know you can.